ultimately I want to test out a new salt that I found. So you might know already that I always use Malden Sea Salt, which is my favourite. It's got a soft flavour, it's not harsh, and it really just makes food taste better as opposed to tasting salty. It doesn't really give any odd flavours to it. So I've got another salt though now, which is from Ile de Ré, which is a couple of hours west of us here. It's a little island, beautiful island next to a city called La Rochelle. But I've got 3 little nuggets of USDA Prime. We're going to cook these in the bread oven we've got over there, which we've already lit for another video. So I'm hoping that these can get 5 or 6 minutes in there, and that's all we'll need. So I'll see you in a minute when we cook those. All right guys, we're in the makeshift outdoor kitchen area that we've got here, and I'm just going to salt these up. I've got 3 pieces, as I said. The smallest one we're going to leave without any salt at all. And then we've got these 2 other pieces. I can tell the difference. One of them has like the cap of fat on it, and the other one doesn't. So the one with the cap, I'm going to put some Malden all over it. I'm going to be relatively sparing. Tell you what, let me move this first. We don't want to interfere and get any salt on that. I'm going to be relatively sparing because these are really small pieces of beef, so they won't need a lot. But we do want to know the difference with the salt and what flavour it brings. So okay, so that's the one with Malden. Now we'll salt this one. This Ile de Ré salt is very coarse, so and it really smells of the sea. Of course, it is from a little tiny island, as I said before. So we're just going to get some of the finer pieces if we can. Okay, it's going to be quite crunchy in the mouth, I would have thought. So I'm going to be, again, quite sparing with it, but cover it in a fine layer as much as I can. Get some on the fat. So actually putting salt on the fat can actually help to cook that a bit better. Now with these tiny pieces, it may not make a huge difference because they're not going to cook for long, but in general you do want to salt all sides to get a uniform flavour. Alright, I would think that that is enough. We've just taken these off about 5 minutes ago, so they've just been resting. This is not the most attractive plate of steak I've ever seen. It's just the way it is out here sometimes. It's a little bit rustic. Okay, I'm going to start with this really small piece. There's a very good chance that it will be much more cooked than I would also want. Sorry about the excuses, it's just one of those days. I've never used this oven before, so it's my first test. Yeah, it's cooked quite a lot, but actually it looks juicy. This is just the one without any salt. Wow. Well, it's definitely charred on the bottom and that flavour comes through massively, but it's not bitter yet. It's still sweet, delicious, and really sweet. This USDA Prime beef has just continued to impress me constantly. You guys are very lucky over there. Now, we've got the one with this Ile de Ré salt, this very coarse salt. It's slightly grey in colour. It smells a little bit like the ocean. This beef is medium to medium well. It's juicy. You can taste the salt on there. It's a bit. It's slightly metallic. It's got its own note, its own character. Slightly metallic, slightly ozony, like the ocean. A little bit seaweedy, and it does take over a lot of flavour. Now, I'd never used it before. I tried to be sparing, but these are large crystals, so I think ideally you'd put it in a salt pepper mill and grind it up, which wasn't possible right now. Okay, I'm going to go for this beautiful big nugget of beef on the end here. This is with the normal Malden salt that I use. Cheers. Now, these 2 pieces with the salt are cooked very similarly. The larger piece with the Malden is slightly less cooked, but only slightly. The flavour is completely just beef. There has just been enough salt to bring out the flavour. You don't taste salt itself. It sort of gives it that umami, savoury, delicious flavour that you're looking for. Whereas this salt is quite intrusive on the flavour. I'm going to put a little bit of the smallest pieces of it there and dip the unsalted just very slightly into it. I want to see what that's like. That is very salty salt. Almost briny flavour to it. So, okay, here's my conclusion. Malden Sea Salt in this first ever test I'm doing with the salt is still the king. It's my favourite. It brings out the flavours in your food rather than making your food taste of the salt. This is a very interesting salt. I'm going to come back to this later in the year. I think it's going to go really well with fish and seafood because it has got a note of the sea to it. A little bit of the brininess, the seaweed, and could be really interesting, I think, on salmon, I think, with prawns, with quite hearty, meaty flavoured things. I wouldn't put it on a sweet crab, for example, but really interesting stuff. This is gros sel, I think, meaning the big pieces. Sorry for my bad accent. And there we go. Test number 1, Malden is still the king, and we're going to carry on with these tests and see if we can find anything better than Malden. All right, guys, thanks for watching. See you next time.